discretion is advised.
If you're feeling like a pimp, niggas call pimp.
What a great intro, Adam. I love that.
Thank you. I want to welcome everyone to Awesomesauce Radio. Tonight we have an awesome and amazing guest. Before I introduce her, I just want to thank you all for listening tonight. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Quickie Shares, Quickie Shares 21 on Twitter. And, I just, without further ado, I also want to thank my sponsor, Key Collector Comics, real quick. Blind Adam, one word, all one word for a 3-week over there. Now, without further ado, I'd like to bring on a legendary actress and a good friend of the show, Ginger Lynn. How are you?
Yay. I'm wonderful, sweetheart. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
I am doing well. Just made a lot of improvements on the podcast, and I'm getting through the last year, especially the last 3 months. Keeping busy with this, so it's been a blessing.
Oh, I think that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I do a podcast myself, and it's one of the most fun things that I ever do. I do it with Christy Canyon. It's called Who Let the Girls Out. And if you wanted to check out my podcast, it's patreon.com/Who Let the Girls Out.
All right, cool. So what tiers? Now we can backtrack throughout the questions in no particular order. What type of tiers and memberships do you have with the Patreon over at Who Let the Girls Out?
Well, we try to make it so that anybody and everybody can enjoy the podcast. We shoot the podcast on video as well as audio. So we just started, as of today, putting all of the podcasts up on the free podcast platforms. And then a lot of our shows cross that line where we're not acceptable on a lot of the mainstream places. So our website it's wonderful, it's wild, it's wacky, and you can hear it for free. But if you want to see it, you can join for 99, or you can just do the 99 cents per episode, or you can join per month. And you get something new every day. There's over 70 shows up there right now, and we're just getting ready to shoot our 5th season.
Oh, wow, 70 show. Wow.
Yeah.
So does it have all your older content from back from the Playboy radio days and all that on there as well? Or
say that again?
Does it have any of the older content, say, from your Playboy radio days?
No, we're creating all new content. It's all new. Christy and I get together once a month, and we film 21 shows, which takes up the entire month. So we put something up daily, Monday through Friday on Patreon.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. So just to backtrack a little bit, how did you get into the industry?
I moved from Rockford, Illinois to California to be with my grandfather, who was ill. And at the time, I was working at a company called Musicland, which was a record store. And I walked into one of the record stores out here in California and said, I would love to work here. What they did was they made me a troubleshooter. So I had 9 stores that I had to get out of the red into the black. I was working 70 hours a week, paying my boyfriend's Corvette payment, living in a dump, and just working so hard and not really reaping any of the benefits. So I answered an ad in the Orange County Tribune that said models wanted $500 to $5,000 per day. I went into my newly acquired agent's office, that was Jim South, and I posed for Penthouse the very next day. Suze Randall shot me for Penthouse. And 3 months later, I made the decision to make my first adult movie, which we shot on the island of Kauai. We did 2 movies back to back. We did Surrender in Paradise, as well as a little bit of Hanky Panky. So it was modeling for 3 months and then meeting some of the incredible women in the industry who inspired me. I had kind of a negative stereotype image of adult film stars before I got into it. And this is, the early 80s. So I think a lot of the people that were around then had that same negative stereotype image. And I just found that there were so much more interesting people in the industry, that they are intelligent, they are articulate, they are talented, they do what they do and they do it well. And so I picked Jacqueline Lorien's brain and asked her, what are your rules? How do you do this? What do you don't do? Everything that I could think of. And she was wonderful about giving me advice. And I walked back into my agent's office and I said, okay, I'm going to do porn, but I want script approval. I want cast approval. I want this much per scene. And I had all these huge demands. And my agent was laughing hysterically on the floor. He said, that's what the stars get. You're not going to start off at that, and you're not going to get any work. And I said, that's fine. And about a month later, I was cast in my first 2 adult films with my terms.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it true that you did a test scene with Ron Jeremy?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, what I did was, once I signed the contract to do this film, I realized how important my role was in it. And I didn't want to go into this movie and find that I wasn't able to do sex or wasn't comfortable doing it in front of the camera. So I called my agent and said, okay, I need to do some sort of a test run. And what we did was I shot 2 things that were called loops. Now, a loop is an 8mm video with no sound. And I did 2 loops that day. The first one was with Tom Byron, who was wonderful. And I fell in lust and I thought, oh my God, this is the best job ever. And then the second scene, Ron walked in and he was fat and he smelled and he was hairy and it was just gross. And I said to the director, can we shoot this scene in doggy style so I don't have to look at him? And and so what happened was I found out that as long as I never want to have sex with someone I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, but I did it doggy style and it felt good. So as long as I wasn't looking at him, I was fine.
Oh, wow. Like I said, I watched into Holly Randall's show. You did an episode of her, I guess, a while back that I got to listen to. So I used that for some of my research as well.
Wonderful. I love Holly.
Yeah, I actually learned a lot from podcasting about just listening to a couple of those shows.
Yeah, she's really, really good. And she just had a baby a few months ago, so I'm so excited for her.
She did have the baby.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
she did. She named her Violet. She's got a little baby girl.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So this is like the 80s, so of course you can't talk about 80s porn without talking with someone I know you really, really, really super, let's just say, disdain. Let's just say you would smack her so hard she wouldn't know that you smacked her so hard.
There are only 2 people in the entire adult film industry that I don't like, and we've already covered Ron Jeremy.
So I guess you know that we're going to Tracy Elizabeth Lords.
Moving on to Tracy Lords, yes.
All right, I'm gonna reverse the way I worded this question. What was the industry's reaction when everyone found out that she was underage?
Shock, disbelief, fear, anger. Everyone felt that they had been taken advantage of. Tracy was never a nice girl. When I met her, she was just very full of herself, very confident, very, I am the greatest gift to God's world. She just had such a I'm the best attitude. but wasn't friendly to other people. She was great with the guys. She fucked every crew member that I ever saw her with. She loved sex. Her book is full of bullshit. None of it's true. She's just a liar. She's just a horrible liar and a bad person.
I know. I had one interaction with her at a convention, and she was just a total bitch. And
Yeah.
I walked away before I, cursed her out because I didn't want to get kicked out of the convention.
Right. I hear that from a lot of people. She just doesn't have, I love people. I love doing conventions. I love meeting my fans. I wouldn't be anywhere without my fans. And so I appreciate them so much. And I've been at conventions where she's been there, and she's more like an assembly line girl. If she talks to you at all, you're blessed. Usually she
And I was with a friend who made the mistake of bringing the penthouse that she was in with her. And let's just say that a flirt in church would have went over better.
Well, then the stupid cunt should not use the name Tracy Lords. If you're embarrassed about your past, go back to Norma Kunzman or whatever the fuck your name is and stop playing both sides of the street. You were a porn star. That's the only reason people want to see you. And so to not talk about it, it's just another one of her nasty qualities.
Oh, yeah. It was not a mistake. I was with a fellow friend of mine who was digitally impaired. He brought in front of a different magazine with him. And when he pulled it out, he was very apologetic, but she was just a nasty bitch.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And unfortunately, we hear that a lot. But there's enough of us nice girls.
How much do you hate the bitch?
I don't like to say that I hate anybody. I don't give her space in my head. She doesn't deserve that rent-free anymore. I learned the type of woman that I didn't want to be by her example.
Oh, wow. Are you on OnlyFans?
Oh, yes, I'm definitely on OnlyFans. My OnlyFans handle is onlyfans.com/blameItonginger. And I'm having so much fun. I do videos every day. I do a video and a photo set that I post on onlyfans.com. And I get to interact with fans that grew up with me. It's kind of like old home week, it's people that they're reliving a memory and a fantasy. So I love my OnlyFans.
That's great. I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah,
I'll go to the pile of things to do when there's enough time in the day.
There's never enough time in the day, is there?
No. Is it true that that John Holmes saved you from getting busted with weed in an airport?
I met John. We were doing our first film together. I believe it was the Grafenberg spot. It might have been Girls on Fire. But I met John, and it was right before we were going through airport security. And I had a pipe and some marijuana in my pocket. I went, what do I do with this? And John grabbed them both from me, threw them into the little bowl with his keys, and pushed me through security and saved me from getting caught with marijuana. I didn't know that I couldn't have it with me. I just wasn't thinking. But John was a good friend. John was a good man. He was kind. He was honest. He was funny. I had heard all the rumors about the Wonderland murders and this and that and the drug addiction. I saw none of that. I met one of the nicest men that I've ever met in the adult film industry. Just a great guy. And, for him to be my knight in shining armor within the first 5 minutes of his meeting just always gave me he'll always have a special place in my heart.
That is amazing. I'm just actually discovering his body of work now for some weird reason.
Well, his wife, Lori, wrote a book, and according to the book, that John helped, that they wrote it together when he was alive, and then she finished it. But one of the things that they talk about is that John, his cock was so big that it was almost impossible for him to get the blood flowing to get a full erection. And Lori wrote that, wrote in his book, in their book, that the only two women who have ever been able to get John completely hard were me and Lori Holmes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did 6 films with John. We had no problems whatsoever.
That's awesome sauce. Like I said, I after this, I think I'm going to start collecting old school porn DVDs again.
I love old school. Oh, look at John. Yep. He was such a stud. And a really good guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in the industry?
You know, the industry has changed so drastically since when I got in. When I started in the industry, the scripts were 100, 130 pages long. They were real movies where sex was put into the movies. We were treated like royalty. We had red carpets. We had catering. We had makeup artists. We had full crews. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful time to be in the adult film industry. I wouldn't change it for the world. And today's market, one of the things, for a girl to actually get into adult movies, I believe that the law should be you have to be 21 years old. I don't think that you're mentally capable.
That makes sense.
It's just that, you know, you're not old enough to have a drink. You shouldn't be making decisions that will affect your life for the longest time.
I agree.
I discourage women from getting into porn today. What I do encourage them to do is to take advantage of OnlyFans. OnlyFans, you own your own content. You post it when you want. You make the money. It's not the big companies. And it's back to real sex. It's not, okay, we're going to come in and do positions A, B, and C, and that'll be our movie. You know, it's real people having real sex. So I encourage girls that are thinking about getting into the adult business to give it a shot on OnlyFans and see how you like it, and never do anything that you don't feel comfortable about.
Yeah, definitely. That goes for men and women.
Absolutely. You know, there's always room for that word no.
Yeah. How about for mainstream?
For mainstream?
Yeah, for people wanting to get started in mainstream, what advice would you give to them? Because you have an incredible mainstream career as well.
Thank you so much. You know, when I saw myself for the first time on film, it was, we had a movie premiere, we had the red carpet, and it was a film called Kinky Business that Tracy was in as well. And I remember sitting on an aisle seat and watching myself, and I thought I looked really stupid sucking dick. I thought that I was a horrible actress. And so what I did was I enrolled at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and I studied acting for 6 years so that I would be comfortable with what I was doing. And when I got into mainstream, you needed a resume, you need a headshot. And so my resume was made up of entirely nothing but adult films. So here's the perfect example. You've got Kinky Business up. So when I made my resume, instead of putting Kinky Business, I put Risky Business, like I was in the original. Instead of the Goonies, or I was in the Poonies. So my resume said the Goonies. Beverly Hills. I know, it was ridiculous. Beverly Hills Cox, I changed to Beverly Hills Cop. Blame It on Rio, I changed, or Blame It on Ginger, I changed to Blame It on Rio. So I just took my old movie titles and changed them back to the mainstream titles and got my way in that way. And my first feature film, mainstream, was directed by Freddie Lincoln, who was one of the stars of Last House on the Left, he became a porn producer and then left porn and started producing mainstream films. So Freddie and I hooked up on Wild Man, and that was my first mainstream. One of the interesting things that I found is in adult movies, I have never ever been in a situation where a director, producer, an agent, anyone said to me, oh no, I just totally forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's a porn producer, director.
So in porn, there was never a casting couch. No one ever said, "We'll give you this role if you suck this dick. If you suck my dick." There was no crossover from casting couch to porn. You went in and you just, you were hired as an actor. Now, when I went on my first big audition for mainstream film, it was actually for Beverly Hills Cop Part 2. And I had worked for about a month on the dialogue. I hired an acting coach.
Oh, wow.
I went in, I was so excited. And Tony Scott, as well as his casting people and management, producers, directors, everyone was in the room. And I walked in, and the first thing they said to me was, "Can you do a nude Polaroid?" And this was for the role of a bimbo waitress. And I said, "No, I'm not comfortable with that." So they said, "Well, how about a topless Polaroid?" And I said, "No, why don't I just read for the role?" And I read for the role, and she was a ditzy, dumb blonde, hysterical, very funny. And I got done with the audition, the first read through, and they said, "No, we want you to play this like you are the biggest slut in the world, and all you want to do is fuck everybody." And so I learned really quickly that people in mainstream initially brought me in just to meet Ginger the porn star. They had no intentions whatsoever of casting me in their films.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really fucked up. But then after I did Wild Man, I did Dr. Alien with Dave Dakota, and then I did the 3 Vice Academy movies, 1, 2, and 3. And from there on, I got a role in NYPD Blue. I was in Young Guns too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my career really in the late 86 to 95, things really took off.
Yeah.
And then in the last couple of years, I've done more work than I've ever done. So my mainstream career, yeah, I've got 2 films in the works.
I also hear you're a very accomplished artist. How did that come about?
Well, I have a 25-year-old son, and when he was about 2 years old, I was always trying to find new and interesting things to keep him occupied and creative and all of these fun things. So I went out and I bought canvases and paint, and we would go out to the backyard and just start painting. So initially it was something to keep my son occupied, and then I found that I fell in love with it. You can see my art at gingerlynnart.com. I paint mainly acrylic on canvas. I do a lot of women. I do a lot of nudes. I do a lot of animals. All of my paintings are based on a memory or a song or an emotion or a smell.
That's amazing.
So I get my inspiration from, that's one of my favorite pieces right there. That's Dancing in the Wind. Yeah, that one right there. I love that piece. And that belongs to a woman. She bought it. She lives in Belgium.
Wow.
So yeah, I've sold hundreds of pieces of my art. I'm extremely ecstatic about it, and it's fun for me. It's a great release. I love doing it, and I've got my studio in the house, and then my house is literally an art gallery. I have paintings from the ceiling to the floor, in every room.
That's amazing. I know you also have one of my other favorite internet ventures, Ginger Lynn Auctions.
Oh, yeah. GingerLynnAuctions.com. Ginger Lynn Auctions is something I started about 10 years ago. And the reason I did it is I used to sell, when you make an adult movie, you can wear your clothing maybe once, maybe twice, and then you don't wear the same lingerie again. So the models end up having bins full of lingerie. And so I started, I used to sell myself stuff on eBay, but I started my own auction site, gingerlynnauctions.com, and I made it free. So anybody that wants to go there can post anything they want. I don't make a penny off of you. I designed it for the women in the industry who woke up one day and went, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this anymore. But they didn't know what to fall back on. And they can post their lingerie. If they don't have the time, they can bring it to me. I will shoot them in their lingerie. And then we offer your favorite porn stars used dirty lingerie at gingerlynnauctions.com.
It's amazing. Just out of curiosity, and it's probably gonna have to search eBay for both of these. The two Holy Grails Ginger Lynn collectibles, which would be the torn comic book and the action figure.
Oh, yes. I have several of the torn comic books still in my possession. I have one of the collector's dolls, and I so want to open it up because I want to start carrying little mini Ginger Lynn on all these little adventures I take. And so I'm thinking I might even open that last box and get her out and play with her.
That's awesome. I saw what those are going for on eBay right now. I was actually shocked.
Yeah, they're really expensive. They're hard to
They're
find.
like upwards of 500. That and the Christy Canyon one are both like upwards of like $500.
Yeah, they're really hard to get a hold of. They only made so many. And Christy is my best friend. Christy and I do our podcast together. She's an amazing woman. You don't want to miss her. Yep, there's the torn comic book. There's the illustrated cover, and there's also the photographic cover. They did a really good job on that. It's Carl
Comics, who are really, really great people.
Yep, there's the other one. And they did an amazing job. I'm really proud of those.
That was amazing. Do you have any memories working with Mark Hamill on the video game?
I do. I worked with Mark Hamill on Wing Commander 3. I'm in part 3 and part 5. 3 is Heart of the Tiger. And the game, it's a video game, but they shot it as a movie. So each scene, it's about a 300-page script, and each scene has 3 or 4 different endings, so that when you're playing the game, you can make the choices. And one of the choices that you have in the game is if you're playing as Mark Hamill as the leading man, you get to choose whether you kiss me or the other girl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there comes the day that we're ready to shoot our kissing scene, and one of the producers pulls me up into a stairwell, and she's acting all embarrassed and nervous. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, I'm so sorry, but Mark is afraid to kiss you unless you have an HIV test.
Holy shit.
And I said, well, first of all, that's just ignorant. You can't catch HIV from a kiss. I don't have HIV. I'm at the same time, my heart is full of, that it's getting harder and it hurts. And I started to cry, and I called my agent, and I told him what was going on. And what they did was, I agreed to take the test without a problem, under the stipulation that Mark take one as well. So we had to shut down production for a couple of days while we each got our HIV tests and got them back. So it was just a very awkward, very uncomfortable. It wasn't warm and fuzzy working with him. He made me feel dirty. He made me feel uncomfortable, and he made me feel like I shouldn't be there. So for me, working with Mark Hamill was not a good experience.
Okay, let's move on to a more pleasant experience. What was it like
Alrighty.
working with one of the greatest composers of heavy metal of all time, Rob Zombie?
Oh my God, I love Rob Zombie. Rob is just one of my favorite people in the world, and I love that he is so creative and is always thinking of something. He's always producing things for the world. There are people that take and people that give, and Rob is a giver. He is always on to his next film. He's always got great ideas. He's loyal to his actors that he's used before. He's cast me in 3 of his films. He cast me in The Devil's Rejects. He cast me in Lords of Salem, which I turned down. And then I'm in 31 as well. So every 5 to 10 years, Rob usually comes back around and offers me a role. And he's one of my favorite directors to ever work with. And
How approachable is Rob?
how what?
How approachable is Rob?
How promptable?
I said, how approachable is he?
Oh, approachable. He's very approachable. One of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. But he's also
one of my dream guests, but I'm a little intimidated by approaching him and his people.
Well, he's not as easy to talk to as some people are. I find that when we're working together and it's director, actor, it's just spot on. It flows freely. He's one of my favorite directors ever. But when it comes to normal conversation, I get nervous around Rob, and I'm not one that is normally at a loss for words. I get nervous around Rob and don't always know what to say.
All right, like I said, I'm always trying to think of, new guests for the podcast. And,
Oh, absolutely.
now that IMDb Pro is my new drug of choice.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah, I love IMDb Pro.
Yeah, I spent like 3 hours on it about 2 days ago.
Nice.
What was it like being in a Metallica video?
Oh my God. First of all, I love Bob Seger, and I love the song Turn the Page. So I got a call from my agent, and they wanted me to be in the video, Turn the Page. And at that point in my career, I didn't want to be just a video vixen, a background girl in a video. Mm-hmm. And so for about 3 months, I turned the gig down, and I was in Waco, Texas, in a hotel. When I get the front desk says there's a call from your agent, and it was my agent telling me that Jonas Åkerlund, the director of the Metallica video, was in Los Angeles and asking if I would please just meet him. I said, I'm wearing overalls, no makeup, my hair's in a ponytail. I've got my nanny, my bodyguard, and my son with me. I'm flying into Los Angeles tonight. I will meet you, but I'm bringing my family and my crew with me, because we'll come straight from the airport. So I get to the meeting with Jonas, and he's explaining to me how for him Turn the Page has a meaning. And what he had always wanted to do in his life was create music videos. But we don't always get to do what we want to do, so we find something to do in the meantime. And so what he did was he produced Cirque du Soleil type shows. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did to support himself as he got into the music video world. And so I'm at the Chateau Marmont. I go to his room, and he tells me the story about, for him, it was about going from doing what he had to survive, which was the circuses, to getting into the industry he really wanted to be in, which was mainstream music videos. And he compared his experience to mine, because I was going from adult to mainstream. Mm-hmm. And it was the same type of a transition. And I got a lot of flack. What you're seeing right now, the image that's up, is the talking head portion. And all of it was scripted. But so many people, I got so much backlash because people thought that I really was a hooker, that I really had this daughter that I lived out of the back of my car with. I had feminists up my butt. Feminists up my butt. My only regret about doing the music video is that I didn't get to meet the band.
Really?
None of my scenes are with anybody from the band. I guess the rumor has it that Lars was my biggest fan, and Lars is the one that wanted me in the video. And so after I read for the director and we talk about the role, he tells me I have it. I'm like, okay, fuck, this is going to be awesome. And I go home, and the next morning my agent calls and says, you didn't get the role. And I'm like, what? After 3 months of them begging, and he said, yes, you look too young and you look too good. And I'm like, that's what makeup is for. That's what you can put, spirit gum around my eyes. And so they did a lot. They did a lot of makeup to make me look older and harsher. But
wow.
it was just one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. Jonas Ackerlund not only shot the video, Turn the Page, but he made a short film which won awards from the footage we shot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a really, really good experience. One of my favorites ever. It's one of the pieces that I'm the most proud of.
That is cool. What was it like to play in the American Pie world? You were in American Pie band camp.
American Pie band camp was a blast. It was so much fun.
I actually just watched it last night, and I thought I was going to break my ribs laughing.
I was originally cast for 2 days, and I ended up working 6 weeks on the film. One of the female producers just fell in love with me, and they kept adding scenes. There are 2 scenes in the vault at NBC that they'll never release. And one of them is where I've got the band leader in a pair of diapers, and I'm in a baby, and he's carrying me around in this little carriage, like a rickshaw, and I'm beating him with a rope. There's another scene where we're on a sex swing. My favorite part about the American Pie band camp episode is the outtakes at the end. All of the funny things that they didn't put in the movie. It was so much fun.
That looked like it had to be a blast to film.
It really was. Eugene Levy was a wonderful man to work with. All of the actors were fantastic. The director, biggest fucking dick I've ever worked with. Asshole. We had one incident where we were getting ready to shoot the scene, and he goes, all right, focus in on her ass. And I turned around and I said, you know what? If I wasn't a porn star, you would not just have said that. It's totally unacceptable, and you're not allowed to speak to me that way. And ended up, he sent me flowers, he apologized. But a lot of people in mainstream, when they've got a porn star on the set, they don't see them as just an actor or a performer or a person. There's always that in the back of your head, they are a porn star.
See, I think that's wrong. An actor isn't.
It totally is.
To me, a porno movie is just a movie that happens to have sex with it.
Exactly.
And you're still telling a story, but instead of telling the story with dialogue, you're telling the story with sucking and fucking.
Exactly. Well, I've got 4 films coming out. I just did Slasherette Party was just released, which is an 80s throwback slasher type film.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I did a movie called New York Ninja with Michael Berryman and what's her name? My Vice Academy co-star, Linnea Quigley.
Oh, wow.
So I did New York Ninja with Linnea Quigley and Michael Berryman. And then there's a series called Lady Killer TV. And I was cast, they shot episode 1, there's 3 of them. And then I was cast in 2 and 3. I play an 80-year-old woman. It was the freakiest thing ever. They put all of this glue type substance on my face, which made it one big wrinkle. My neck wrinkled up, my arms, they just covered me in old lady dots and spots. And it is one of the most fun, sexy, and crazy series I've ever done. So that's Lady Killer TV. There's 2 episodes of that coming out.
I'm gonna check that out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. What?
What's that?
Oh, my boyfriend was yelling how disturbing it was to see me in makeup as an 80-year-old woman. Oh, and then the new movie I'm doing next is called The Midnight Mystery Show. And that's a 4-part series where I play a character named Rebecca Roan. The film is with Danny Trejo. And
nice.
Yeah, so that's coming up in the very near future.
That's great. Let's see. It's pretty much public record that that you dated Charlie Sheen for a long time. Do you have any fond memories of that time period?
All of my memories of Charlie were fond memories.
Yeah, he's my childhood hero. So
Charlie's one of the best men that I've ever met. He's kind, he's loving, he's generous, he's hysterical, he's intelligent, he's articulate, he's a gentleman. One of my favorite Charlie stories is he had decided to buy a new car one day. And so we went out and actually bought 5 cars that day. And we were driving one of them, the other 4 they shipped, and we were driving down PCH, which is Pacific Coast Highway, and Charlie saw a homeless man walking along the road. And so what we did was Charlie drove us to a Dick's Sporting Goods, and he bought a sleeping bag and pillows and socks and clothes and a lantern. And Charlie bought a whole survival kit for this homeless man that he saw on the pier, and we went, or on the beach, and we went back and gave this man all of these wonderful things. Charlie was so generous, always doing nice things for other people, always. And one of my, he was my first real true love, and he will always have a spot in my heart, always.
That's amazing. Like I said, the show 2.5 Men helped me get through the most difficult period of my life. I was caretaking for my grandmother, and I would help make her dinner one night, and then we would watch the 6 o'clock news, and then we watch repeats of 2.5 Men, until she would pass out from her medication finally kicking in.
Yeah, I've never seen 2.5 Men.
Yeah, like I said, it just that, and the show just really helped me get through a very rough patch.
Isn't it wonderful when you find something that you can fall back on, that you can lean on, that can give you that comfort level that you're looking for?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, like I said, God rest my grandma's soul. It's been like 9 years now, so.
Yeah, my grandma was my favorite too.
Yeah, it still hits me hard sometimes. So I think about it, but
no, I
know she's done smiling on me now. She's like, yeah, all those crazy things you said in the TV room there when we used to watch TV dinner, they were coming true.
Grandmas are great. My grandma taught me how to knit. She taught me how to sew. She taught me I design jewelry. I paint. I'm a very productive person. I'm always producing things right now. I'm working on my book. which is getting closer and closer. It's called I Don't Look Good on Paper. So I hope to have that finished in the next 6 months.
Cool. I have one question, and this goes out to a listener to the show by the name of Tom. What do you call the last meal of the day? Is it dinner or supper?
I call it dinner.
Thank you, Ginger.
Thank
Thank you.
You're welcome. What do you call it?
I call it dinner too.
Yeah. No, I guess when I was a
He's
kid,
telling
we
me it was
called
called supper, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, as a kid we called it supper, but no, when I'm getting ready to cook here in a few minutes, I'll be making dinner, not supper.
Thank you, Ginger. You just made my night. So where can my audience find you online?
Find me at onlyfans.com/blameItonginger. Find me at patreon.com/wholetthegirlsout. Find me at gingerlynnart.com, gingerlynnauctions.com, and gingerlynn.com. You can also find me on Sextpanther, which is sextpanther.com/ginger-lynn.
Awesome. Like I said, I wish Sex Panther worked for computers for the blind, but unfortunately they do not.
No, but you can still do the audio.
Yeah, like I said, I'm still trying to fix another issue with. It's more a tech-based thing on my specific tech.
Yeah. Well, you do an amazing job. You're a really good interviewer. You're a sweet man. I appreciate being
Thank
on
you
the
very
show.
much. That means the world to me. I want to thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for being a guest, and I want to thank you for being a friend.
Absolutely. You can always count me in as a friend. If you ever need me, I will be here for you. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out last time, but look at all of the great stuff now that we've worked out.
Well, yeah. Like I said, all of a sudden, you're just like, I can't see. I can only see your nose. I'm hanging up. And then I went out and I looked like a dejected little child for 2 minutes. And then I was like, no, I need to fix it. I need to fix this so this never happens again.
Yep. Well, it worked out well, and I'm happy that I could be here for you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yep.
I wish you all the best. If you ever need me again, just let me know, and I will be here for you.
Thank you so much, Ginger. You have an amazing night.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.